Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1, as many people like to call it, also known as KOTOR, as something else everyone likes to talk about it, is the introduction of the Knights of the Old Republic series, which has Knights of the Old Republic 2, the canceled Knights of the Old Republic 3, and Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, okay, I know a lot of people when they talk about the Star Wars EU, they like to talk about what introduced them to EU. Either it's the Thrawn trilogy, New Jedi Order, but also this game was developed by BioWare and Lucasfilm and LucasArts. Mostly BioWare. LucasArts helped publish it and helped with some direction with it. But mostly, this was my introduction to the original expanded universe. Mostly because I was a gamer, I wasn't much of a book reader till way later in life, because I just felt like a game was visual media better than actual printed media. So I really wanted to explain this game was freaking awesome. Like, everything about this game is great. Like, the graphics, they don't hold up since it's been over 10 years now, and it doesn't really hold up, but the story, the characters, the sound design, everything about it holds up besides the graphics. This game was released in 2003. Now, originally, Lucasfilms approached BioWare beforehand saying, hey, can you do a playthrough of can you do a RPG game based on episode 2 Attack of the Clones, which would have made it a much better movie if BioWare was in charge of the production of it. But but also they were given the opportunity, or you can go 4,000 years back into the past and let's explore that. Now, this does suffer from obvious predictability. Like, you know what's going to happen at the end of it. They're going to survive. The war is won by the Jedi because the Jedi fall in 19 BBY, which is 4,000 years after this, which is 4,000 years after Knights of the Old Republic. So that's a downer, but it's not really much since you're emotionally invested, since you don't know what happens to the characters other than, well, they die, but we don't know how they die. Like, do they die of old age? Do they die a peaceful life? Or do they die in the conflict? Now, there's going to be spoilers on this, so if you've never played the game, which would be surprising, then you should check it out. It's available on iOS. You can play on the backwards compatibility on the 360. You can play on the computer. You can play on the Android, on the Mac, anywhere virtually nowadays. But this game has become famous for two other reasons. One is for its extensive mods, though mostly for KOTOR 2, which I'll talk about in a future video. But along with that, the storyline is mostly known for holding the whole Sith Lord Darth Revan takes place during the Jedi Civil War. Darth Malak has unleashed a Sith armada against the Republic. Now, when we first saw this, I was like, who this guy is? Like, they don't really explain it until a little bit later in the game. Like, we hear about the Mandalorian Wars. What's the Mandalorian Wars? What happened there? Like, this was the big canvas we would get. This would be the foundation for this big storyline that we would get for years and years until Disney killed everything off without even trying. Why they did not want to pay royalty fees. Like, I get creative wise, but royalty fees is one of the other factors, I believe. We also get introduced to your character, who would later be revealed and is canonically a male. It would be revealed that he is Darth Revan way later in the story. And when I first played this, I was shocked. But when I looked at it now, I think, well, they gave hints of it, so it wasn't really surprising now. But, like, you have all these connections with these characters, and you're interested in this storyline of Revan. You really want to know more about him. You find out through Cander's Ordo, a Mandalorian who's fought in the Mandalorian Wars, that he was a general. He defied the Jedi Order. He helped lead a bunch of Jedi splinter groups into joining the Republic to fight the Mandalorians, because the Jedi Order was a bunch of dicks at that point. Because, like, it's further explained in the two sequels, Knights of the Old Republic 2 and the Old Republic. We learn more about Revan's backstory and other expanded universe material, but we also get this fact, and we also get this fact that he led the Republic and destroyed the Mandalorian army, killed Mandalore the Ultimate, and we also get introduced to this new species called the Rakata, and once heard about something called the Infinite Empire, which I'm wondering what's that? What's the Infinite Empire? And then you had to realize you had to read the comics to understand what the hell everything was going on. Like, at the time, there were no comics or books or novels or a franchise out of this. This was just one game, so you had completely zero knowledge that you had to get exposition from the characters to understand. What I also loved about this game was how you start to build a connection with these characters. Like, 4,000 years have passed, you know what happened, and all these characters are all dead by this point, but you can't help but build a connection. It's also introduced, as much as the critics like to say otherwise, the first lesbian character, the first homosexual Jedi slash character in the Star Wars universe. I can't pronounce the name, so I'm not even gonna try. But they like to say, oh no, the first homosexual character is in the new Disney canon, Life Debt, Aftermath, that book, Aftermath, Life Debt. And I'm thinking, like, okay, one, if you said he was the first gay character in the Disney canon, then okay. But to say it's the overall first character, bullshit. Like, even then I could tell, yeah, there were, even if I've never heard of this game, which would be a travesty, um, I would know that, okay, there had to have been a gay character in the old EU in Star Wars, like throughout its entire existence in the books, in the games, in the comics. There has not been one gay character up until this point. Yeah, I call bullshit. And you meet all these characters and you can't help but develop them. Like, BioWare was supremely great with storytelling. Like, they got their they got their name known from the Neverwinter Nights game and Baldur's Gate series, but this game really put them on the map. So So I was really hyped up to see this game. I really loved it. I couldn't wait till the sequel happened, which I found out would be Obsidian Entertainment's job, since BioWare didn't want to be known as another Star Wars developer, which I understand. And its lasting impact over Star Wars EU. In fact, many people consider the Timothy Zahn books of the Thrawn trilogy to be the video game version of it. Like, this is the this is the heir to the Empire of video games for Star Wars, the expanded universe. And I did, and you also have to go on this quest to find the Starforge, this ultimate weapon of mass destruction, which creates weapons of mass destruction on a galactic scale. And there's two alternative endings. There was originally going to be three, but this game has some content which I understand, like different endings, different some minor stuff. But KOTOR 2, that's a completely different story. I'll talk about that in another video. But you also get insight into the Force. You learn more. There's a character named Jolie Bindo that you meet on Kashyyyk, and like you get this, back then I was all Jedi, Sith. There's no in between. I was a kid back then, and we were just off of the Cold War. So basically, I think that mentality of good versus evil was still there, and then 9/11 happened, which we'll never talk about in this my channel. Well, might mention it, but I won't directly talk about it because I don't want to feel insensitive since I monetize all my videos. So I have respect. But Jolie Bindo offered insight to the Force, how he broke the Jedi code, but yet was not part of the dark side. He was a gray Jedi, and this really, I think, introduced gray Jedis into the mix of Star Wars. Like Qui-Gon Jinn was a great Jedi by many, but it was never called that in the Star Wars prequels. So the fact that we get the concept of gray Jedi or gray Force wielders, that was awesome to me. That would help lay the foundation for me way later on in life to learn about there's no good, there's no evil, there's an area shade of gray, there's good and evil about times, but there's an area of gray here, and that applies to Star Wars as well, and I really love that. And that would also make me look into the past books and whatnot and see if there was shades of gray there before it really took off. And it turns out there is, especially with Thrawn, how he wanted to unite the galaxy in preparation for the Yuuzhan Vong. since he has experience, and the New Republic was fledgling at that time. But I've already talked about the Thrawn trilogy enough as it is. Since I already have a video of it, you can check it out. And I generally don't know what else to say. Like, the characters were great. Bastila Shan was great, albeit kind of annoying at times. Like, some people label her as annoying. She's Revan's love interest. And Revan, that introduced me to that guy, and that guy was the ultimate badass Sith Lord I ever seen. Darth Revan, like, I couldn't help it. Like, even today, his popularity is still big. Like last year, even though the expanded universe was considered non-canon and dead to Disney, they did a toy poll series where the Black Series figures, and everyone voted for Revan, and he got his own toy now. He's back in this, and there are possibilities that this game, along with KOTOR 2 and the Old Republic, they might be recanonized into the new Disney canon, because the Old Republic warships are shown in the Rebels, and HK-47's in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, or Star Wars Heroes, which was awesome. And HK-47, I'll talk about him in a separate video, but I'll just say he's the most hilarious droid I ever seen. He's even more, even with his personality being so aggressive. Let's go with that. So, those are my thoughts on Knights of the Old Republic 1. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.